Hello, everyone, and welcome back into another edition of preseason Tomahawk Talk. I'm Adam Gatkin, joined again by Cam Manna and Nathan Schwartz. And today we have got a very special guest joining us, the head coach of the Bourne Braves, Scott Landers. Coach, first off, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So, just wanted to start off with, how you're doing, how your spring is going right now, because, everyone in Bourne knows you as our head coach, but also you spend your school year as the head coach of SUNY Oswego up here in Central New York, right by me. So, how's everything going with your spring season right now?
I think it's all right. We came out of the winter with a great winter to prepare. Not a lot of snow, fairly warm. We were outside a lot. We were on our field inter squatting February 10th, but honestly, the spring's been awful. I think everybody in the Northeast, East Coast knows that. I mean, we've had rain, cold, so it's going. We're just trying to get games in as we prepare for the home stretch.
Was there a lot of time off from the Cape League title and then, move back towards the fall in Central New York? What was that time off like for you?
I mean, there's not much time off. I get back August 15th and we're on campus, 1 week later, typically. So not a lot of time off. It's just from one thing to another. The time off is really more October, after we're done with our fall season, November, December, that time, that's when I can kind of unwind and settle down. The fall's tough, man. It's getting my team ready here, getting acclimated with the new guys, but also trying to recruit for this upcoming season in the Cape. So, end of August, September are crazy.
And let's just go back to that game three in August last summer and just the overall emotion of being able to capture back-to-back Cape League championships. What was that season just overall like last year?
I think it was a little more gratifying in terms of I didn't think we were as talented as we were the year before. When you look back on it, great bunch of guys, and just going honestly with my coaches and the players that we have going in and out, just the exciting times you have and memories of the day-to-day activities that you do and the workload. But once I think over the last 2 years, you've seen, how we've kind of done it, and it's been, tread water, get acclimated to each guy and what they're doing and get them experience out there and get them better. And then kind of after the All-Star break, it's, full tilt and let's go. And we've done a good job with that. And we've done a good job in the playoffs, so it's been exciting. I think there's a little bit of pressure. I don't see it that way. For truthfully, I do this all year long with my team here, and then I go out there. So it's just different, so I just go from one to the other. But it's exciting to get out there. I've had a stressful grind for 10 months here, and it's a grind out there, but it's different with different people. So it's awesome, and I couldn't thank, everybody in Bourne, from the fans to the administration and honestly with Nicole and Darren and Jenna Beth, they've done great work and made our coaches' lives a lot easier.
You mentioned the talent level, coach, from year to year, how that shifts, but there's a lot of talent on the Cape. Seeing that team last season, it seems like a lot of that success into the month of August came from the leadership levels of JKG, Bryce Eblin. How important does that go into your recruiting, bringing guys to Bourne when you look at that leadership and kind of captain level of these type of players?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I was late getting on here because I was just talking to Bryce on the phone. Um, those guys, between Vasti and Josh and Ebbs, they were the glue, sort of. I mean, they were there early. They led. Um, you know, Bryce and Josh were there the year before, so they knew what it was all about. So it was awesome to have them. And then you have guys like, Cunningham on the mound who was there the year before. So, we had some guys that were awesome people, awesome individuals, and knew how to work and what it was like to be out there.
Have you seen any change this off season in terms of recruiting, bringing players in? Any more interest in college coaches sending players to Bourne, just based on the fact that now you've won back-to-back titles here, and going back to your time in Brewster, you have won 3 straight titles yourself as a coach.
Yeah. No, I mean, I stick with, there's a lot of people that reach out regardless. And I stick with a lot of the people that I trust. Um, as I do this longer and longer, there's more and more trust with different people that I get to know. But difference, I would say the last 2 years were completely different. With the transfer portal and guys going in and out, and it was just it. I think that was the other gratifying thing last year was just it was hard. It was hard to just every single day manipulate the roster because of the portal. And guys not wanting to come to the Cape and certain coaches not wanting to send their guys to the Cape. That was really tough. And that was the first time we really kind of experienced those types of things. So we had to navigate through that as well. I think those are the obstacles really. And, Team USA with a larger roster. So just trying to put the puzzle pieces together was the biggest thing.
And coach, in terms of just the overall landscape of the transfer portal, of course, it, as you just talked about, it adds a lot of shifting in and out. And you touched on this briefly, but how difficult is it to go from you have the initial roster and then you have the roster you're going into in the middle of June, and then who knows, by the time the playoffs roll around in the end of July, it could be a completely different roster. Over half the team could be gone, or you have guys that could possibly come back as well.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, when I talk to Chev and Smythe and those guys, like on paper, always, a lot of times I shouldn't say it. Last year didn't, or my first year, it didn't look good, in January. But, it's like, okay, I have an all-star team in September. Like, hopefully these guys, and you could lose 3/4 of those guys. Um, I think I only had, and especially for the whole summer, I think there was only 3 guys that made it the whole summer last year. Like it's tough. Um I'm trying to think in terms of full contract pitchers last year. I really think it's only 3 that kind of made it to the end of the year. Whether that is injury, is too many innings, it's Team USA, transfer portal, like there's just so many obstacles and things that go into it. So I mean, it honestly, it doesn't really matter what your roster is right now because in May and end of May, it's going to be completely different.
And I think we saw that for a lot of last year when you start the season with that specific type of roster, and then you see, Rob Adams and Anthony DeFabia come back and, pitch some solid innings in August. With all that turnover, how do you yourself, Coach Topoleski, Coach Olson, you guys build that culture with all these guys and, all that turnover? How do you build that specific culture in Bourne?
Um, I mean, you got to. I mean, it's different than it is at school, but like Top comes from a good program, and he's going with Sheets to Chatham, which is a good thing for him. Ols came from my program and he's coaching at a good program at Hobart. Salty's a big leaguer. Like, you got to be a people's person and know baseball. And I feel like Kevin Curtin, same thing. Like, he's at MIT. He's the brains of everything. He went to Harvard. He's way smarter than I am. But you put them all together and it's a good bunch of guys that know a lot of baseball. So you have to have that rapport with the guys coming in. And no, you're there to help them and for them to trust you and you trust them and just get better. But I think I really do think that's the key is we've had a good group of coaches along with a good group of players and I don't want to just stay there. Like, and I've already, thanked Bourne itself, but I was, 2 years ago, I was very skeptical on going to Bourne. And now, 2 years later, I couldn't thank them enough. It's been outstanding, from the fan base, because it's not very touristy compared to the Chathams and the YDs, and they're the local people and they're great. The board and just everybody around there has done an awesome job and made myself and my kids and my ex-wife and all the other coaches feel right at home. So, I can't thank them enough. And it would be an extremely hard place to leave. And nor do I want to, but 2 years ago, if you asked me that, going in, I didn't know much about it and it would have been different, but, I couldn't say enough good things about this organization, and what they do for the team and for what they do for me. So, and I would say the biggest thing they let me do is just do my thing and coach, and say yes or no, but, they're just great. So I can't thank them enough.
Coach, you just talked about just doing your own thing and having people around that just know the game and are going to teach the game and play the game at a high level. And when you have so many guys coming from different conferences, different levels of collegiate baseball, and they have so many coaches in their ears, how do you bridge the gap between what they're hearing at their respective schools to then what the message is when they get to you at Bourne?
In terms of, their ability, is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, just ability and
Okay.
just overall message.
Yeah, I mean, my message to them, just like it is to my players, there's no right or wrong a lot of times, and there's a lot of different ways to teach hitting or teach pitching. I feel like I've surrounded myself in the coaching world with premier coaches that I've learned from and have been mentored by. And I feel like I have a lot of knowledge, but I don't know everything. And just like I tell our players, like, you get bits and pieces. What might work for Scott Landers might not work for Jared Saltalamacchia. So what works for you? You can't ever be, I go back 2 years ago when we had Matt Shaw. Matt Shaw was a little different in terms of personality. And I loved it in terms of coaching wise, because he wasn't a yes, like, you tell Matt something about hitting or whatever. It wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to do that. Like, he thought about it. He tried it. It was like, it was, some people might think about it as arrogant or like he's not, but to me, I felt like it was more of a calculated decision whether he was going to take that or not. And I think that's what all great players do. They're not searching for the next best thing. You take pitching, for example, and like, okay, Driveline does this and Shred does this, and the baseball ranch does this. And then you listen to all the 108 Performance does this, and it's great, and you take things like Teacher Man versus Eugene Bleecker when you're talking hitting and front side hitting and backside hitting. And like, there's always a different way to skin a cat, and like what works for that person. And I think the player has to realize that as well. Like, what works for me, including my players here. So if, like I tell these guys, if I can give you something to go back to school with that helps you, then we've done our job. Whether that's a routine, for a starting pitcher or a new pitch, or, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. You're in the Cape for a reason. But we're going to try to refine some things and make you better, for your respective programs and for pro ball. But I really do think the Cape can be a confidence booster, or it can be very humbling mentally. And I think the mental like grind can help, can make or break a person. I think that's where it comes the most, really, and trying to navigate day after day after day and playing and going through slumps and having your successes. How do I deal with these failures? And the more people, the better people you're around, the easier that is. So, I mean, I just, you take your bits and pieces and go back and be a star.
All right, well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. We're the day of recording this exactly 2 months out from opening day, so it's an exciting time of year, and we all can't wait to get to the Cape and can't wait for the start of the season. We'll have some more preseason Tomahawk talks coming out before the start of the season, so make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Born Braves, and we'll see you all again soon here on Tomahawk Talk.